Sound check, light check, set check. How's my people today? Look at me, I'm on time and everything. Noon sharp. And I've got like a hair on my face, of course. It's always got to be something. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to come on down to The Price is Right. I have my cursor back. So now I can say my cursey words. No, the cursor, just the little arrow. It's so hard to use my freaking laptop when I have to do touch screen because it's easy to like touch the wrong thing and things just don't work. So I'm really happy when I have my cursor and it just comes and goes every day. It's ridiculous. While I'm waiting for people to find my thing and someone is here, I'm going to ask you to please hit the like button if you'd be so kind, and make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed. And if you're not, then why not? What did I do to offend you? I'm kidding. If you don't mind subbing up or considering subbing up, it does a channel a world of wonders, as well as sharing a video with friends, family. Anna Bees, woohoo! Look at you, girl. How are you, honey? So I think I have a solid hour, maybe a little bit more. I have to go get some sharp edges taken off my damn braces. They just adjusted them like a few days ago. Last week, I think it was Wednesday or something. So a week ago. But it's so annoying. I was actually trying to get in there with my jewelry needle nose pliers last night because I could have sworn they said to go ahead and do that if things bother you. But I better double check because that seems like a really bad idea. I didn't do too much. I don't think I did any damage. Everything is going good. How about you? Things are going great. I'm really, really happy to be coming on at noon. Got puppies in the house. My studio is coming together better and better, both for the yoga and for the streaming, the live stream. And man, that effing 73-minute drunken or stoned or both Trump-Stein fire talk, his little TED talk at the Quantico yesterday, was that not the craziest effing thing you've ever seen in your life? Dang. The guy has lost his freaking marbles. Not that he had any good ones to begin with, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion. Allegedly, everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All of my videos to date have been made for the tube of you, and that's about it. It's an infotainment platform. So yeah, these braces are very hard to talk through. I'm bound and determined. You know, when I first got them put on, I was like, oh no, is this the end of my live streaming? The end of my YouTube for the next 18 months with these damn appliances in my face? But it bugs me to hear myself talk with the braces. But hopefully it doesn't bug my viewers as much as it bugs me. But what really bugs me is when I can't show off my cool necklaces there. Because I kind of remade both of them. Can I get close so you can really see? They're so cool. This one is like cut glass. And I think it's probably J. Crew. And I had to redo it twice. And then this one is like leather and wood. And I love the colors. The top one is kind of like tangerine pink. And then the bottom one is more like a desert rose pink. And, you know, my daughter's volleyball game last night, we had to wear pink for supporting breast cancer. And so I was talking about the Barbie movie and stuff yesterday. Beautiful necklaces, Anna B says. Well, thank you, dear. Hey, have you ever gotten earrings from me? I can't remember. You've probably won jewelry, right? I mean, I know you've won stickers lately and a little tiny chicken coop so that you don't have to buy any more eggs. But I think I sent you some jewelry long ago, like some black beaded earrings or something. if you remember. If you don't, that's okay. Anyway, let's jump right into our material because I really want to talk about Trumpster Fire telling on himself yesterday, which the whole thing was insane. And for that, I can thank him because I think he made it abundantly clear to every single general in that pathetic display of his insanity that he's a pathetic display of insanity. I won the You won the Bobo T earrings. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that, Annabise. And I told you I had 2 pairs. My daughter has a pair. And she didn't know I had 2 pairs. So she knew when somebody won them on my channel and she just about cried. I was like, honey, it's okay. I've got a second pair, not to worry. Yeah, I couldn't have given those up if I didn't have the 2 pairs. Yeah, those are fun. And I remember Granny Annie got the Evian water bottles. Yeah, there's been some really fun ones. What do I have on? I have on these cool amber. Don't you love amber? Can you see it? It's kind of hard to see sometimes with, unless you put it against a black background. Look, my tiny Bible that I have next to me at all times to keep the demons away. So tiny Bible will show the amber more better than not having it for the background. So yeah, let's talk about the demons. I mentioned yesterday how I am very suspicious of Charlie Kirk's widow. And I didn't really go into description because there was so much ground I was trying to cover, and that's one of the reasons why I review my tapes, so I can be like, did I start a sentence that I didn't finish or something? Because I do a lot, and I apologize for that. When I say I'm going to say something and I start to say it and then I go off the rails and don't get back to it. I try so hard to make sure I get back to things. But if you're watching and you're able, you can always type it into the chat too. I know I've had people reel me in like that before, and it's extremely helpful. So the thumbnail that I used is 3 pictures of Mrs. Kirk. And the middle one is the most recent one. That was her on one of these bro podcast things where she was like laughing and yucking it up and flirting with them. And I couldn't help but notice how the chair behind her looked like one of the Wicked Witches of Disney movies. And she's got the weirdest eyes. I mean, her eyes are very pretty, don't get me wrong. At times they're extraordinarily pretty. They're like that glassy blue. And at other times they're like a yellow and they look like snake eyes with like, you know, vertical pupils. It's absolutely insane. It's almost like she's a shapeshifter. And I really wonder if Charlie didn't know about her Romanian Angel nonprofit thing that allegedly got her banned from Romania. I wonder if Charlie didn't know about that. And I wonder if she's not in the Trumpstein files. And I wonder if she wasn't afraid for him to find out. So when I was mentioning my suspicions around her yesterday, I don't think that she called for that to happen to her husband. I just think that at the very least, she's an accomplice after the fact, at the very least. But I think that BB, you know, the Yahoo of the net, we'll just call him BB, like so many people do, but some folks might not know what I'm referring to when I say that. Benjamin, I believe that he's the one who called for Charlie to go down, and that his main henchman is our dear leader, Tenantious D, and that he did everything in his power to coordinate it, and that of course, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly Kash Patel is in on it, and all the rest of these freaking bozo clown cases. Very, very dangerous clown cases. I still believe that the people behind him were doing the hand signals. I believe that a lot of people in the audience around him, and maybe a lot, maybe all, maybe just a handful, I don't know, but I believe that they were coordinating this effort. And I do believe that he's deceased, but I don't know who the shooter was, and I don't think it's the kid who draws on his ammo and writes love letter texts of confession to his roommate. I mean, I don't even believe the thing about his roommate and him being lovers and his roommate being trans. We have one picture of his roommate. Does he even have a roommate? Anyway, the other pictures I have on the sides of that weird malevolent, who is it? It's the one Angelina Jolie plays. Let me look real quick. Malevolent, I can't talk. I'll just ask the Google to tell me. The evil character Angelina Jolie plays in the Disney movie. Maleficent, right? There we go. Powerful fairy. Maleficent. Am I saying it right? The mistress of evil. So the first one was 2014 and the second one was 2019. Inspired by the villain from Sleeping Beauty. Let's see what Anna B has to say. I think of Kylie when I wear them. Oh, that is too cute, Anna B's, because yeah. Don't think of Scammy who scammed a free Bobo tea from Kylie at work. You probably caught the video where I mentioned that I called the tea house, the tea boutique that Kylie worked at, to ask them how much a Bobo tea cost, because I think they're like $8 here in Ohio, and I figured that they were probably like $10 in Tahoe. I think they quoted me at $9 for a tea when I called. And yeah, that's like the one time that Scammy might have hung out with Kylie is when she swooped in on her at work and hit her up for a $10 Bobo tea that Kylie may or may not have been putting her job in jeopardy when she did that. But yeah, I love Mrs. Kylie Rodney. Oh, cute. Yellow eyes on Supernatural, the show. Yellow eyes was a demon. Well, a lot of times her eyes look like they changed to yellow, and they look like they have those vertical pupils and weird things with her teeth. I mean, she's got perfect teeth and a perfect smile, but sometimes like it looks like she's got fangs. I mean, maybe I'm hallucinating. Anyway, what are the other pictures I have on the sides? Let me look. I'm not even remembering right now because, you know, the brain just goes blank when I come on to my live. Where is it? I think it's two other headshots of her. So the one on the left where she's in the all black, that's a pretty chilling image of her. And then the other one where she's wearing the white sweater and she's all cuddled up, she's got the dark eyes, really dark eyes. Anyway, in her speech at her husband's memorial service, you know, the one that was with the techno pyrotechnics and 9 hours long and all MAGA speakers and Trumpster fire hijacking it and making it about him, and him kind of being a little too handsy with Erica, and Erica, quite frankly, being a little too handsy with him back. That was really weird. A lot of it was really weird, but I think at both the memorial and when she was talking to those guys on the podcast where she looks like the Disney villain from Sleeping Beauty, she spoke about how much Tenantious D and her deceased husband loved each other like Teletubbies, basically. And I believe that at some points in time they did, but I don't believe that that was how it was at the end. At the end, Charlie Kirk had been calling for the release of the Trumpstein files as often as he possibly could, like daily. I don't know. I didn't watch his content, but I've seen pieces of it. And then I've seen the clips where he says, I got a call from Tenantious D last night. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. And he asked me or told me to quit talking about releasing the Trumpstein files and to trust the government on this. And so I said, sure. And I am. And I'm not talking about it anymore. Like on a dime overnight. And then again, to reiterate, I've said this handfuls of time in the last couple of weeks, when the birthday book got uploaded to the interweb, to the cloud, he did another 180. Charlie Kirk did, and was just like, release the damn freaking files. So I think that BB is in those files as much as Donnie. I also think that Daddy Vladdy is in those files as much as Donnie, as is Clinton and RFK Jr. I highly suspect that Keg Breath is in those files. Freaking A, Lisa Murkowski and her husband might be in the files. They have deep ties to Jizz and Jizz's secret husband and Little E himself. And Patricia Moss, hello. Let's see. Yes, all that is sus. No one texts like that, especially young people. I mean, who texts anybody and says, drop what you're doing right now and go do this? You can just, if you were going to text somebody and say, go look under my keyboard, you would just say, go look under my keyboard. You wouldn't be like, drop what you're doing and then go look under my keyboard. That's too many words. When people are texting, they're trying to go minimal with the thumb action, right? Especially when you're like running and hiding because you just pew-pewed somebody and the law enforcement is swarming and they're everywhere and they're after you, and they're after you. You're not stopping to text and complete sentences and say, hey, stop what you're doing. If you have something in your hand, set it down, stand up, walk over to the computer, pick up the keyboard and look under it. I wrote you a love letter. The whole thing. Patricia says, I don't know how long I can stay. I have a broken dog. Oh no. I'm so sorry about your puppy dog. What's going on with the doggy? Here we go. He jumped off the couch last night, hit the slippery floor instead of the rug, injured his hip. Don't know if it's muscle, ligament, or joint. Trying to reach a natural painkiller, maybe it says tunic, but you probably meant turmeric. Maybe spell checker got you. Is this an older dog? I'm so sorry that he hit the floor and hurt his leg. I would think that dogs can take acetaminophen. I'm pretty sure they have given my dogs ibuprofen at the OSU vet. But yeah, I would look it up, ask AI, maybe call your vet. Sometimes vets will do a free consult over the phone. Call OSU, man. They're awesome. You can call them from out of state. Ohio State University Veterinary Clinic. It's like one of the top 4 in the world. But they might not dispense that kind of advice over the phone. I don't know. I got to get back in there for another checkup for Coco. Anyway, I'll pray for your little canine and hope that he's all right. That is unfortunate. Yeah, I can't stay on too long because I've got some sharp metal spikes in my mouth that I need resolved. But I do have until at least 1 o'clock, 1:15. I think he's a healthy 16. Wow. We have a healthy 17-year-old cat. Yes. Thanks, Jazzy. I will call OSU. Oh, very cool. Awesome. And actually, like UC Davis, I think is one of, if not the top even closer to the top than OSU. UC Davis, I think Texas A&M, and then maybe one in Iowa. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I had to look them up because, when Coco was doing her cancer treatment, try both. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. So yeah, the thing with BB is allegedly his people are the ones that had that lunch interaction with Charlie Kirk himself just a few weeks before the assassination, where Charlie Kirk was allegedly offered $150 million to keep promoting Israel freely in any way they wished or asked for. Sorry, my nose is itchy. There's like some hair that the fan is blowing into it or something. I have a hanky right here. Let me grab it. It's super itchy. It's so annoying. Of course, it has to do that when you come on live so that you can be disgusting for your crowd. My apologies. Not that I have a crowd here. It's just the four of us. It's just like a little tea party, coffee talk. I don't know if I have his name handy. Where is it? The guy who had that lunch meeting with offering the 150 million. I got the name just the other day and I wrote it down. But man, there's just so much information to keep up with. I can hardly keep up. Here it is. Bill Ackerman, the Hamptons, $150 million. Okay. So right now, I just watched one of the most recent I've Had It podcasts with Angie and Jennifer. I think those are the names. I think Angie is Pumps and then Jennifer is the other one. Love those girls. Anyway, they are reporting that Israel is offering $7,000 per post for influencers. And we know that Israel is funded by our freaking nation. So should I start posting pro-Israel things? Will they give me $7,000? You know what? I wouldn't do it if they gave me 7 million per post. I really wouldn't. I would not do a single post. I mean, you do that and you are basically handing your life over and your families, because they can turn on you. Well, not turn on you. You might just like drive off a cliff or suddenly become self-injurious, or maybe somebody will grease the top of your stairs, right? Just the top 3. That's all it takes. So I'm wondering, yesterday in Donnie's slurred, drunken, I have a theory that he is a drinker. He says he's never even tried alcohol in his whole life. I call bullshit. But whether he was drunk or high yesterday, he was on something, no doubt. He started talking about falling down the stairs. He was talking about Obama bebopping down the stairs and how you have to be really careful going down the stairs. And it almost seemed like he was catching himself, ratting himself out for what happened to Ivana. And what happened to Ivana in July 14th of 2022 was she fell down a massive flight of stairs in her townhome. Mind you, she's got staff in her townhome. Yes, she was 73, but she was very healthy. And if she had any issues with her balance, like they say she did, like they try to claim she did, they wouldn't have allowed her to stay there, and they would have had a really close eye on her. And do you really think she doesn't have surveillance cameras in her home? I hadn't even thought about that. Of course she's got surveillance cameras in her home. Of course. She's freaking rich AF. Oh my goodness, I never thought about that. the surveillance cameras. Anyway, allegedly she fell down a flight of stairs, and then, it took a while before anyone discovered her because all of the staff and maids and cooks and chauffeurs, they were all like on vacation or something, late to work, not paying attention, too busy texting. Anyway, she was deceased. And incidentally, a couple years prior to that, Donnie's brother, Robert, the one who filled in for some of those top executives that crashed in the helicopter in 1989, his brother, Robert, took over for one of those jobs for about a month until he told his brother to screw himself, right? And then fast forward 30 years, and he too has a little mishap with gravity, overreacts, and fails to live any longer. I don't think it happened as fast. I think he survived for a few days in the hospital, but he was in really bad shape. And then I think a nice visit from his brother took care of that, if you catch my drift. Yes, I'm making direct allegations, and I'm allowed to have an opinion about these things. It's just a little too convenient. And then again, yesterday, when Donnie was going on and on and on in this obviously unwritten, unplanned speech that he's just shooting from the hip and just rambling on in all kinds of directions about meaningless dribble, he starts talking about, probably it started with Joe Biden going down the stairs and falling, and how, Tenantious D doesn't fall. And then he's talking about Obama, how he was like such a show off, bebopping down the stairs. And yeah, he better watch his step because, those stairs could be greased. So the greasing of the steps was something that they had in the freaking South Park episode, the most recent one. Watch it. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. Where Tenantious D is just like casually slapping Crisco on the top 3 steps because he got, how shall we say, Aiton with an S, his lover, got him preggers with a booty baby. Didn't want the booty baby, was trying to poison him with toxic plasmosis and Plan B and greasing the steps. I'm pretty sure they were alluding directly to Ivana. And then, and let me just add, I don't know if his brother fell down steps per se or just fell, because for the longest time, how his brother passed away was being kept secret. And he was only 71. That's not old. In the olden days, 71 and 73 were old. But at this point in time, especially if you're rich, if you've made it to your early 70s, statistically, chances are you're going to make it to your 90s easily. So like your average life expectancy these days is around 78 in our country. It's, I think, a year more for women and a year less for men. But the more money you have, the higher your life expectancy goes. And the older that you are, the higher your life expectancy goes. Because when they say 78, they're talking about if you're a newborn, your life expectancy is estimated to be 78 years old. So if you're already 78, you have to do the statistics of how many 78-year-olds will pass away in 1 year, 10 years, 20 years. So it changes your statistics. Each year you get older, your life expectancy actually extends. And especially if you have cold hard cash. It's a fact. And let me catch up with your comments, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose track of my ideas that I haven't yet wrapped up. The slathering of the grease on the stairs, funny. And I bet a lot of people didn't catch that, but it also, in my mind, alludes to when Marla Maples was preggers, and allegedly Tenantious D was speaking with his bestie little E and said, what if something happened to her and she was no longer living, and therefore she wasn't pregnant either? Allegedly, he said that to Little E, and Little E shared that with Michael Wolff, who has shared that on the show that he does with Joanne, Inside Trump's Head. Anyway, let me catch up with you guys. Oh, and talking about jumping off the couch, Patricia, let's not forget to talk about Vance. What did Hexeth say? No beardos. Like, he got all of the world's top brass to come traveling thousands of miles so he could say to them, no beardos. Was that a direct slam to JD? Especially because he was like being ridiculously insulting towards anybody who wasn't ripped. You know, no fatties, no beardos. I'm sure Vance was like directly insulting Vance, which, you know, I got nothing against that. Man, does he love a good couch. Anyway, I'm sure she did have surveillance cameras. Exactly, Anna Bees. And see, this is why I love coming on live, and also why I love doing meditative things, because I've never even gotten to that thought process. Of course, she had surveillance cameras in her townhouse. She was one of the richest people in New York City. Of course, she had surveillance cameras all over her townhouse. But you never, ever, ever hear anybody say a damn thing about surveillance cameras ever. So yeah, I'm sure they took care of that. And of course the cameras weren't working, Patricia. Precisely. They never are. There's always a glitch in the system. Or like with the jail cam and Pam Bondi trying to say, well, you know, their system is like from before Y2K. It's over 25 years old. It sucks. And every night it loses a minute when it changes over to midnight. Like, step off, you crazy effing liar. All these people are crazy effing liars. And one of the worst is, of course, Caroline with a K, Lying Caroline, and also Mike Johnson. And is his face just like Botoxed? Is that why he never has a muscle movement on his face? I'm going to bet you it is. Good Vance segue, Jazzy. He be loving them couches. So yeah, anybody who doesn't know, I've done some research on how that rumor got started. And it's in that book that I read, the one about Middletown, Ohio, called Hillbilly Elegy. So apparently it was like on page 116 or something, like the actual page number is mentioned. And it was like in the first 60,000 copies that were made and sold, where he talked about a couch incident that I think, and trigger warning in case you don't know the whole story, because I didn't know the whole story till I researched it. It involved a latex glove, Vaseline, and a couple of cushions. I'm sorry I didn't say trigger warning more effectively. I didn't know the whole story. I thought it was just a couch situation. I did not know any specifics. And once I heard the specifics, first of all, you're not going to get those specifics on something made up. Second of all, I think it happened when he was at OSU in a frat. Third of all, it was creating a lot of ruckus, and so they took it out of the story. And the edition that I had does not have that in it. But I believe the story that it was in there. Because, you know, he was probably trying to spice it up. You know, sex sells, right? Yeah, not so much when it's with a couch. Because it's not really called sex, is it? I mean, I guess if it's a robot couch and you ask her to marry you. OMG, I was like mind blown when I got all the freaking deets on that. I was just like, Dear Lord, why did I have to look this up? It is funny AF, is it not? And I'm sure they had surveillance cameras in the frat house, right? Why in the world would you put that in your book? It's crazy. Well, because you're trying to show like what a wild and crazy guy you are. You know, that you were once the wildest frat boy ever, I guess. Maybe he was trying to prove that he never had a girlfriend, that he was an incel. I don't know. But I believe that it was in there. I don't think that came out of nowhere. It's too specific. When people make crap up, they're not real specific. It's more like in general. So that's one of the ways you know when somebody's lying, is when they're real vague with their information, or when they change their story. So anyway, let me get back to the whole thing. I don't know if I really delivered it home, how Erica really was hammering away on how tight Dear Leader and her deceased hubby were. And like I said, to reiterate, I believe that they had been at points in time, but I also believe that they had falling outs, and especially over the Trumpstein files. But my point in bringing it up is it's my belief that she was intentionally trying to sell that idea at his memorial service and in her podcast things so that it would absolve Tenantious D of being sus, because they loved each other so much. Just like people try to absolve the guys doing the hand signals right behind him by saying, you know, that's his security detail and they were good friends of his. Oh, well, yeah, we've never heard of security detail and good friends ever turning on somebody for money. Yeah, that's never happened before. Oh, okay, well, if there's security detail and good friends, the other thing that I've heard people say to try to absolve them of any conspiring is that they do those hand signals all day long. Sure. And again, that's how it always goes when there's a cover up. They try to normalize all the abnormal behavior. They try to say, well, that's just part of someone's routine. They always do that. You know, that's just part of the camera's routine. It always clips that minute out at midnight. They try to put it in the context of nothing to see over here, folks. But I think that I got most of that said now. But what I also want to add is the duper's delight that I see in Erica's face. And I think that that's why she's smiling so much at these really somber points in the conversation, like when she's talking about tender moments with her husband days after his assassination, and she's not crying. And even in the memorial service and in that damn podcast thing that she did 2 days after he was assassinated, I don't actually see tears coming down her face. She does the squeeze of the face, and she gets her little, where's my hanky? Here it is. And she does this up in the corners of her eyes, you know. It's like, no, one of the things that detectives look for to try to figure out if somebody's being truthful or not in their mourning, because you got to remember that the spouses are always suspect number one, always suspect number one in a homicide. Always, especially follow the money. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh, they're looking for snot. They're not looking for tears. They're looking for snot, because anybody can squeeze some tears out, you know. But when you're devastated like that, it's the snot that you can't fake. So if you're crying your crocodile tears and you forget to have a face full of snot, you're toast. So if you ever do anything sinister, remember that. Remember to get some good snot. Sorry. I mean, you got to keep it lighthearted, don't you? This stuff is insane. And to think that there could be such a massive conspiracy on such a massive scale to do something like what happened to Charlie Kirk in front of 3,000 people with cameras everywhere. Oh, and let me bring up, if you guys have seen, a lot of people have talked about, I think people have just gone off the rails with their conspiracy theories of what happened. And maybe I'm off the rails, but one of the things that the Hawaii real estate and Brush Junkie and a bunch of others have talked about is that they know that it's AI because they see a chair go through a table. Have you guys seen that video footage? I'll put a clip in the description, or I'll put the Brush Junkie and the Hawaiian real estate videos about it. So I've watched that carefully. So they're trying to say because they see a chair go through a table in the aftermath of all the the heat of the moment, all the chaos right after, like immediately after he's assassinated, when they see the chair go through the table, they know that it's AI, and therefore the entire thing is AI. And Hawaii real estate's theory is that, he's not really deceased and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, damn, man. Wow. I don't think that the table, I think it's an optical illusion. I don't think the chair went through the table. I think that it's sort of like this, like there's the table, and then there's something in front of the table that almost looks like the table. Here, let me see if I can reenact for you with my paper. And then there's the chair that comes flying, and it goes through the table, and then it bounces back out of the table, allegedly. I think it's an optical illusion between an actual table and maybe another table, or maybe like a bulletin board or something. I think that the chair does not go through the table. It looks like it goes through the table, but these cameras are so effing weird. I mean, even for me, with my little tiny setup here, that's all, a 2-foot range from me to the camera and maybe 6 feet to the far corner, you get so many optical illusions. I can't even tell you. That's why I'm always like scanning my screen and like moving things around, because it'll do weird tricks. I think part of it is the pixelation, that the camera kind of fills in pixelations where there aren't pixelations. It's lighting, it's so many things. Anyway, that whole thing. And then the whole thing with the Snake Eyes movie and the what do they call that? Predictive programming. So when they make a movie almost 30 years before something happens, and then the thing that happens is like what happened in the movie, that's been done allegedly. And sure, that makes sense. You can make a movie now and then carry something out 30 years from now that is the same or similar. Charlie Kirk would have been about 5, I think, when that movie was made in 1998. Because that was 27 years ago, and he was 31. If I do a little bit of math there, I think he was almost 32. I think he was going to be 32 this month. It's entirely possible. I don't know. But for people to just try to shoot down that whole Snake Eyes thing, if you haven't seen the movie, I would say see it. Or if you don't remember seeing it, you don't remember the whole plot. There's way too many similarities. The major ones, the name, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirkland, or Charles Kirkland is the Secretary of Defense that gets the same method of fatality, the same assassination, the same spot in a public place, blonde woman in a white pantsuit, or kind of a mini skirt pantsuit, let's say, and Erica and all her white pantsuit stuff, as you're moving up the ladder in the priestesshood of the sect. I don't know. Makes me think of Scammy in her little white freaking mini dress at Kylie's celebration of life. I know I'm going all over the map here, but let me pull it back to the Snake Eyes movie. The date of the fight that this happens at is September 19th. I've seen a lot of people say that it's September 10th, and it's not. It's September 19th at 10 p.m. It's a 9. I am sure of it, or at least in my opinion. That's a 9. And again, that's an optical illusion with the pixelation. If you want to see it as a September 10th, you'll see it as a September 10th. If you want to see it as a September 18th or 16th, you could probably do that too with enough concentration. But it looks like a 9 to me. But it is at 10 p.m. So 9/10 was the date that Charlie was taken out. There's a hurricane coming through town, and it's called Jezebel, and then there's all that stuff with the witches that purchased a curse onto Charlie from Etsy, and either the group of witches is Jezebel or the site that they went to purchase the curse was Jezebel. It's just freaking crazy. It's absolutely crazy. There's no such thing as coincidence in homicide, period. The end. So the only fault that I find with the parallels of the predictive programming from that movie is when people try to say that it's September 10th on the marquee for the boxing match. It's at the beginning of the game. And if you Google it, you can see photos of it. You can easily pull that up. I'll put a link in the description. But yeah, way too many parallels or coinky dinks. Yeah, let me see. Sorry, it's taken me so long. He put a lot of thought in how to make a kitty. Oh, and a piece, like a Kit Kat kind of kitty. That's disgusting. As my youngest son used to say when he was a toddler, that's disgusting. Yeah. Yeah, like why not just like do your business the way most people do their business? That is a lot of thought. That's what makes me think that maybe he was an incel, right? Then try to do too much. I couldn't even get dressed most days after my husband passed. Exactly. You cannot eat. You cannot sleep. You can barely function. The snot, the water coming out of your face is just too much. I was like that for 8 days after my dear friend offed herself when we were like, she was 19 and I was 20. And I hadn't even seen her in like a year or something. I mean, we were in different states when it happened, but it was 8 days that I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't function. I was in college and I could get to class, but I'd be sitting there crying the whole time with the snot and everything for 8 days straight. And that's just a friend. I mean, we were good friends, but still, you can't function. And for her to come out 2 days after Charlie passed away, was assassinated. And then the story changed. Didn't they say for the first few days that Erica and the babies were there at the university that it happened at, that they were present? But then the story changed to that she was in her mother's hospital room when she got the news. That's just crazy. I would wake up every day and be mad that I woke up. Oh, well, and sometimes when you wake up and you forget for a minute, right? And then you wake up and you're like, oh, crap. Or you wake up and you think, oh, I was having a bad dream that my husband died. And then you're like, oh, fuck, it's not a dream. I'm living the nightmare, right? I agree with you, Jazz. I don't think it was fake. Fake. The movie thing, the Snake Eyes. Yes, they said they were there. See, it's the first time I've had anybody confirm that. I could go back and look at some videos, but yeah, for the first few days, I was just like blown away. I was like, they were there. Like, and I was also really curious, like, where were they? Were they outside? Were they inside? Were they in a hotel room? Like, there were no details. Again, it lacked the details of them being there. And so maybe that's why they switched it up, was because they didn't have the evidence. They didn't have the proof to back up that they were there. And then there would have been the traveling back, and there would have been the chaos and the grief there in Utah. Okay, so I want to make sure that I've hit home the whole thing about Trumpster fire, Tenantious D, talking about falling downstairs for way too long yesterday in his 73-minute drunken speech that went on for way too long about almost nothing. Other than when he opened up, and it was so effing quiet, because I did not know this, even with all the military in my family. It's absolute military protocol that when somebody says something political and you're in public, you do not respond across the boards, whether you're a soldier or a general. You do not make any indications of being for or against whatever political thing was just mentioned. So all of the leadership in that room, it was like 800 generals, I believe, all those military men, all of those highly skilled, educated, and experienced military men, not one of them blinked during this crap. So after Hegseth spoke and everyone was so quiet, and then Tenantious D comes out onto the stage and makes the comment of, oh my goodness, I've never walked into a room so quiet, so silent. That's the word he used. I've never walked into a room so silent. You mean dead? And then he went on to say, you can do whatever you want. You can laugh if you want to laugh. You can applaud if you want to applaud. Personally, I think he was just ignorant to the fact that no, they can't. Not when it's political crap being said. Second of all, he immediately then went to, if you don't like what's being said, you can just get up and walk out of here. You're free to do whatever you want. But if you do that, you're going to lose your rank and your future. OMG. Like, that was like a direct threat on not only everybody's livelihood in the room, but everybody's livelihood, period. And again, he's so freaking dumb, and the dementia is just full blown, because you don't even need to say it. It's implied. You don't need to speak those words. It's already understood. Come on. So freaking dumb. But again, for that, we can thank him, right? Yes. Here, I want to highlight that one about absolutely said they were there. Yes. Every day I would wake up and say, sometimes out loud, my husband is dead. Oh, I'm so sorry, my dear. I mean, for about 6 months, I did that because I didn't remember at first. Then I would be mad that I didn't pass in my sleep. Oh, honey. Exactly. I mean, it's rough. You don't just bounce back after 2 days and say, well, that was hard, but I'm good now. Unless you're good because you don't care, because you benefited so much, or you were privy to details before it even happened. I'm not accusing her of being privy to it before it happened, but I think after the fact that she was spoken with, specifically by J.D. Vance and his wife, on the little freaking airplane ride on Air Force 2 with his remains from Utah to Arizona, where they live. And again, you don't even have to come straight out and say it. It can just be implied. It's understood. You step out of line. These things happen. Stairs get greased, right? Again, I'm going to reiterate what Hegseth said. No beardos, J.D. Vance. No fatties. And I was so offended by the no fatties thing. So offended. I guess Keg's breath is too stupid to realize that oftentimes when people have weight issues, it's because of a medical issue, say diabetes, say broken bones, say anything. And how did that make Tenantious D feel? No fatties. What, does he think he looks like the memes that he creates of himself with the Rambo muscles and crap? OMG. And I can't wait until Pete Hegseth gets fat. How ridiculous. How effing ridiculous. Nothing about people being qualified, nothing about behavior, nothing about education, nothing about mistakes. Just all they care about is the way things look. That tells you everything you need to know right there. Looking at my time. So obviously, to reiterate, Tenantious D could not have had anything to do with Charlie Kirk's assassination because they loved each other like Teletubbies very much. I mean, Charlie was like family with Tenantious D's kids, I believe. Charlie was probably single-handedly responsible for many of the votes that Tenantious D actually got. So basically, the threat that Tenantious D made to the military was that if you don't like what he's saying, not only does he have the ability to strip you of your rank and your future, which he said specifically, he did not imply it. He spoke the words. Then Keg's breath, I think prior to that, had said in his speech, if you don't like the things that we're saying, then do, what did he call it? Do the right thing, do the noble thing, do the honorable thing. Do the honorable thing and step down from your position. Withdraw from the military. If you don't like what these MFs are saying, then get the F out. Like, no, how about the people that don't like what you're saying? We live in a democracy. They're allowed to still be there. Especially, I mean, military men and law enforcement, they are going to do their jobs. They are going to respect the position, even if they don't respect the person in the position. You can't be insubordinate and be in the military or be in law enforcement. You get reprimanded for that. Insubordination is considered like criminal behavior. You're allowed to have a different opinion, just keep it to yourself, right? But when these people are more experienced, more knowledgeable, more educated, and actually earned their effing stripes rather than purchased them or were handed them, maybe you should listen to their opinion. Maybe. I don't know. What do I know? What else? The Italian, how do you say it? I can't say this word. Aristocratic. I can say it. I just can't read my writing. The aristocratic count, the Italian prince, Raffaello Gaetani, is one of Ivana's life partners, one of a handful that passed away in what I think could be a very telling pattern of sinister foul play rather than self-inflicted, natural, accidental misadventure. So the self-inflicted, natural, accidental, did I say it all right? The self-inflicted, natural, accidental misadventure that Rafredo Gaetiani passed away from a couple of days before Christmas in 2005 was that he drove his little car off of a cliff in Italy when he was visiting his family. He'd been with Ivana for 8 years. They were life partners. They weren't married. But man, was he a hot Italian prince. And he was an actual boxer. He was actual aristocracy. He was actually a count. And he also had business ties, or he advertised for Ferrari. I'm not sure. But, she definitely had a type that didn't include Tenacious D. All these tall, dark Italian hotties. So there was the one before him that she was married to for less than 2 years that she then sued for like $15 or $20 million for breach of contract. And I don't think we know of what he passed away from. And then there was the one after him, the one who passed from cancer, congestive heart failure, and something else. It was 3 things all simultaneous at 49 years old. So he passed away less than 9 months before her. He passed away in November of 2021. So it was almost a year after the insurrection of January 6, 2021. And then Tenacious D's medical doctor passed away 2 days after that in an undisclosed location from undisclosed causes. Harold Borenstein, the guy who said, yeah, I didn't write that letter. Tenacious D dictated that letter saying that he was the healthiest specimen of a president that the planet has ever seen, or ever will see for that matter. And then 2 days after the insurrection, he is no longer living. And then 9 months later, 10 months later, in November of 2021, the ex-husband of Ivana, who she was only married to for about 1.5 years, but then they stayed together most of the time from the time that they were married up until he passed away. And there were rumors that they were getting remarried. And she was like his nursemaid the last year of his existence. And then she passes away 7 or 8 months after him in her accidental, self-inflicted, natural misadventure down a flight of stairs. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say that it's natural, accidental, self-inflicted misadventure. Like, that's how they try to frame all of these passings away. All of these passings away. There was one I just found out about recently. The woman, the 43-year-old top federal judge from the Eastern District of Virginia, which is essentially Washington, D.C. For anybody that doesn't know that, like, it's a mile from Washington, D.C. It's just across the river, just literally just across a bridge. You got D.C. and then you got Arlington, Virginia. So that's the Eastern District of Virginia. It's basically, you're a D.C. lawyer. You're just on the other side of the river. You know, the river that the Black Hawk crashed into the commercial jet. That river, Potomac. Right. That woman, Jessica Aber, that allegedly passed away in her sleep from natural, accidental, self-inflicted mishap. Now they're trying to say that that was self-injurious behavior. 43 years old, amazing attorney, very upbeat person. And then her family has said all along, like, oh yeah, she had a lot of medical complications. She had a medical condition. I'm not saying she didn't. I'm just saying that, yeah, you better say that or else, right? Oh, man. Okay. What else do I have in here that I want to be sure to get to before I have to wrap it up? The Life Take Two and Rosie Insights and the Knitting Cult Lady. I had forgotten to mention the Knitting Cult Lady, Paula Poundstone. Just trying to remember some of the excellent women influencer content creators that I like to watch. Paula Poundstone is hilarious. Oh, did you hear about the little Freudian slip that Ted Cruz made? It's at the end of the I've Had It video that I watched right before I came on this, and I'll put a link in the description to that video. At the end of it, they show the clip of Ted Cruz saying, "Stop attacking pedos. Stop attacking pedos." I could just fall out of my seat. But allegedly, that was a Freudian slip. That's not what he meant to say. Man, the gaslighting. The actual gaslighting. So that Billy Bush interview with Jim Acosta that was a few days ago. I put the link to that interview in my description of yesterday's video because I mentioned it yesterday too. I found it very interesting because Billy Bush, obviously, he's had two presidents in his family, his uncle and his granddad. And he was on that Access Hollywood show, and he was the one that got burned at the stake for the things that Tenantious D said to him on that Access Hollywood bus ride with the hot mic. You know, the Kit Kat grabbing comments. Billy Bush got flogged for that. Donnie never got flogged for that because, you know, he's just like, hey, locker room talk. He dusted himself off, pulled himself up by his bootstraps, and it was over. And I don't think Access Hollywood ever got flogged for that. But the guy who's just sitting there in earshot of this madman, he's the sacrificial lamb. I was fascinated to hear what he had to say. Absolutely fascinated. And him and Jim Acosta, they kind of got into it. Like they were dueling it out. Jim Acosta was live and he was reading a lot of his chat. People were saying, you know, hold his feet to the fire. And Billy Bush did a really good job defending himself and saying, you know, yeah, I'm the one who's taken all the heat for the things that Tenantious D said. Like, why is that? That's such a gaslighting maneuver from like our whole culture and our whole media and our whole everything. Like it's not Billy Bush's fault that Donnie's insane, is it? Could Billy Bush have made him not so vile and effing crazy? He could have said, "Oh, dear Donnie, you didn't mean that. How could you say such a thing?" I mean, Tenantious D is Tenantious D. He's going to do what a Tenantious D does. There's no stopping him. He's still doing it, in my opinion. I believe that that's why his administration tries to say that he's post-sexual. First of all, nobody effing asked, so just shut the F up. We don't want to think about it. We don't need those images in our imaginations. But why would you say that? Oh, because he's done with all the effing pee grabbing? No, he's not done. I mean, what do you think Laura Loomer does with him? What do you think Elena Haba does with him? What do you think that other freaking new attorney that was on the stage winning third runner-up in Miss Colorado with Erica Kurt when she was the fourth runner-up in 2010? What's that woman's name? Lindsay Halligan or something like that. I know I've got it at my fingertips. Lindsay Halligan. You really think Elena Baba, Lindsay Halligan, Laura Loomer, Caroline Levitt, Pam Bondi, you really think that they've never done any kind of extra special favors for the dear leader? Get real. His own freaking daughter-in-law was screwing him before she married his son. These people are disgusting. So, yeah, to reiterate what Ted Cruz said, stop attacking the pedos. I mean, I'm just spitting nails, but I do need to wrap up so I can go get the sharp edges taken off of the appliance in my mouth. Let me make sure I have said most of the most important things that I wanted to be sure to say. I think I've hit them all, and I should probably wrap up so I'm not flying late. But let me see what you're saying here. Oh my goodness, thank you for saying that. I'll read these out loud. It was so cringe. The whole thing was bizarre. Patricia says some very kind words to Anna Bees. You'll see him again someday, Anna. Thank you, Patricia. Nothing was said that was important to have the top brass in the same room. No, what was important was for them to know that they could be summoned by these boneheads, no matter how important their work that they were, having to drop was. Like why didn't they just send all the top brass a text that said, drop what you're doing right now and come to Quantico, right? Like the text that Charlie Kurt's assassin allegedly sent. Drop what you're doing right now. Go look under the keyboard. No, everything that they said in that meeting, no beardos, no fatties, and you better like what I say, go along with it, or step the F off. All of that could have been in an email, one email. But no, they wanted not only for all of the military to know what power these numbskulls have, they wanted the whole world to know what power these numbskulls have. And thank goodness there was no harm done to the numbskulls and all of the top military brass that they brought into one location with the whole world knowing in advance that was going to happen. Like, F them, man. That was crazy. I was very concerned for safety. Very concerned. Like we all don't have eyes and can see, little t is not healthy. Well, I thought I was just being the what do they call it? The Trump derangement syndrome. I'm full blown. I'm like way past Trump derangement syndrome. I'm way past that. I thought it was just me being so critical. He was barely alive. He was barely awake. He was slurring his speech. I literally thought he was going to fall asleep, not just mid-sentence, but mid-word sometimes. And apparently, I wasn't the only one thinking like that. And it wasn't just the people on YouTube with the same impression. Even the mainstream media had to address it. I thought Keg's Breath was supposed to be the alcoholic. So Donnie's been trying to bill himself as a person who's never tried a cigarette or a drink in his entire life. Yet he hangs out with hookers and he likes casinos, owns casinos, Vegas, Atlantic City, other places. Never tried a cigarette or a drink of alcohol. Okay, sure, right. You're almost 80 years old. I don't believe it. I think you're a lying sack of shit. And I've definitely thought that he's been on things before, and I've definitely wondered at other points in time if he's been drunk. But yesterday, not only was I dead sure that he was either drunk or on substances, but it finally sank in that, yeah, he's probably completely bald-faced lying about the alcohol. There's nobody in this world, in my opinion, who's 80 years old, who's never tried alcohol. And even if he'd never tried alcohol, never tried a cigarette, obviously he's abusing other substances, not just young females. I mean, that's his rug of choice, in my opinion. Like we all don't have eyes. Yes. Did I highlight that one? I did not. So let me finish up with all your comments here and say goodbye until mañana. People just drop like flies when you're around our dear leader. I'm wondering who's next. Well, I'm kind of thinking it's going to be him or Vance. In my opinion, I've already been thinking that. That's not just off the top of my head. I think that he may, of natural, accidental, self-inflicted misadventure, or he might fake it. And Vance could easily have a natural, accidental, self-inflicted misadventure. Easily. Especially because he's a beardo and he's a fatty and he's a couch humper. I mean, what could be worse? And he's just like drooling over there in the corner waiting for his opportunity to rule the freaking world. Effing loser. Exactly, Patricia. Yeah, the people do drop like flies. And then when it says no cause of death released, like with Trump's brother Robert or with his doctor Harold Bornstein, the brother, they eventually did over the years kind of release more information. So that was what, 5 years ago? So then they said that he fell, and then they said that he was in the hospital, not doing well, I think having seizures, but that was only for a few days. And then Donnie, who allegedly wasn't very close with him, said that he was very close with him and went to visit him at least the day before he passed away, if not every day he was in the hospital. But yeah, what do you do if somebody falls down a flight of stairs and then they're still surviving? What do you do? Then yesterday he was talking about firefighters like going up their ladders up into the sky, getting shot at. This was Tenacious D. Did you guys catch that? It was so effing crazy. It was so effing crazy. It's like, yeah, there were some firefighters shot at recently in Idaho when an arsonist set a fire and then became the sniper that took 2 or 3 of them out. That's not normal, though. That's not normal. All of these horrible things happen on Donnie's watch, train derailments. I mean, the one in East Palestine, Ohio, when was that? I wasn't thinking that was on his watch. I was thinking the one in Philly more recently. East Palestine, Ohio train derailment. Yeah, that was February 3rd, 2023. So that was on Biden's watch. Biden. Everything is his fault, is it not? I mean, of course, I'm being sarcastic. But, like Shapiro's, the governor's mansion, getting an arson attack and then not getting mentioned by the dear leader. The Democrats in Minnesota getting assassinated at their homes and attempted assassinations at their homes, not getting any mention by dear leader. The flood of the century in Texas after they've dismantled their weather alert system. I mean, they had I think a third of their staff was gone. They didn't have a signal like a siren. There was a firefighter who called in one of the rivers being unpassable, one of the roads being unpassable. That was like the first official call. And then there was several hour delay from the time that that official called and said, this road is unpassable, which meant a much bigger problem like what was going on. But it didn't get like a code red. There wasn't an emergency alert for hours after that. And he even asked specifically, can you do an emergency alert to the dispatcher? And the dispatcher said, no, I can't. I need to contact the supervisor. And then it was hours before the supervisor responded. And then you had Kristi Noem take 5 days to get her ass out there. Okay, I got to wrap up. I'm getting close here, cutting my time close. I was very concerned about all the top brass being in one place also. Yeah. Very much so. He's definitely done coke and is probably on Adderall. Those are, I think you're 100% accurate with both of those, Anna B's. But yeah, I think he's just a freaking Trumpster fire. He just does whatever the F he wants. And, you know, he like snorts people's souls, basically, as far as I'm concerned, especially young children, females. But apparently it's not just females, allegedly. Thanks, Jazzy. Have fun at the dentist, the orthodontist. He's a fun person, actually. He's cool. We graduated the same year or a year different. So we know some of the same people. There was strange lights in the sky in Arizona. My grandkids were scared. They said it was Elon setting off satellites. Was this last night, Andes? Yeah, remember those freaking drones in Jersey right before the inauguration? And Donnie's like, oh yeah, we should have some people look into that and find out what that is. I don't know anything about it. Whenever he says that phrase, I don't know anything about it, you know he's lying. But anyway, thanks for being here, you guys. Love and light. Take really good care of yourselves. Make sure you get the fresh air, the sunshine, the relaxation, agua, high protein, and lots of healthy produce. Just most importantly, forget about all of what I just said. Just be yourself. You don't have to do anything other than be yourself and take care of yourself. It was Sunday night, I think. Wow. So real recently, today's just Wednesday. Oh, and happy October, you guys. Rocktober 1st. Here we are. That's crazy. Sunday night, Arizona. So Erica Fransk was born in Ohio. I don't know where. I've tried to find out and I don't know where. But then when her parents divorced, her mother moved to Arizona, I think, with her and her sister. And allegedly she had a job opportunity there where she started working with Homeland Security and the Department of Defense and maybe General Electric for 20 years before she then started just doing startups and more government contracts. It's very sketch, but it made me remember Arizona was where the Dodgy Tony was from. And Arizona has quite a problem with missing people, especially the Navajo Nation, right? Crazy. So, Ohio's a bad state for the transporting of humans. So I'm not throwing shade on any other state. Like, I live right in the midst of it. And it's everywhere. And it's hiding in plain sight. I mean, you see these weird hotels that don't really have names off the freeway, for instance. You see a lot of weird things. And that's when you're not even a state highway patrol trooper. Imagine the weird crap that they see every day. But yeah, I'm going to have to say goodbye. Love you lots. Yes, there's always been a problem with missing people. Yeah. Well, so it made me wonder with Erica getting moved to Arizona by her mom when she was young, I can't help but think that she was part of this whole machine, especially when you think of the military contracts that her mother had. The Department of Defense, I guess, is who's always involved with the transporting of the people kind. Anyway, it taps right into the whole thing with Kylie and the freaking Homeland Security being boots on the ground looking for a 16-year-old who was driving poorly. Make it make sense. Okay. Thanks again, you guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and just take care of yourself. See you soon.